This is a little guided tour of the IntelliStitch stitch regulator components. This is the control panel. There's one at the front of the machine and one identical at the back of the machine. They are independent of each other, so when you work at the back of the machine you use the dial at the back. When you work at the front of the machine you use this control panel. On my control panel it says IntelliStitch IS Turbo. I actually have a later version which is the IS Turbo CL, and if you have that version on your machine you will see a little CL right here. I simply updated my board so I know I have the CL. Anyway, let me explain all the lights and buttons on the control panel. This button is just simply showing me that my machine is powered up, ready to go. We have a little light here which says run, and one here that says fail. Then we have a dial, and I have two buttons here. Some machines will have a third button in the middle that's labeled control, and that will, on a Gammill machine, it will control your channel lock. On an APQS machine it will control the thread cutter if you have one. I don't have either a channel lock or a thread cutter, so I simply don't have that button. This button sets my needle down, and the light is on when you have it selected. This button turns my laser light on and off. Now the dial, on this side of the dial is where there are stitches per inch. So if you want to use the regulated stitching mode, you will move your dial to whichever stitch length you want, and we go from B1, which is a 1-inch stitch, B2 a 1/2 inch stitch or 2 stitches per inch, then 6, 8, 10, 12 and S. So if I have my dial here, it's going to give me 10 stitches per inch. The S is a very small stitch for things like tiny stippling or very small fillers. It's when you want a really short stitch length because you're doing small scale stitching. Now to use the machine without regulation, I just turn the dial to this side. Now this side only has 2 numbers because it's stitches per second. So at 1, if I have my dial there at 1, it will stitch 1 stitch per second. Up to here, which is 10 stitches per second, and beyond that it just gets faster and faster until you hit the max. So this is not regulated, this is just the motor running constantly. Okay, and it's not a clicky dial, it's just a free moving dial. We have 6, 8, 10, 12 stitches per inch. If you set your dial with the notch between 2 of the numbers, as I have here between the 8 and the 10, it's not going to give you 9 stitches per inch. The IntelliStitch will decide which one it's closer to. So if you have your dial set here, you may get 8 stitches per inch or you may get 10. It depends upon how the controller sees where that is. The run light will come on when I hit the black button on the right hand handle. This is the go button, and then when the green light comes on I know it's ready to stitch. The fail light is there. That will flash when the stitches you're moving the machine too fast and the stitches are long. It will also flash if you get a thread jam or something like that. The fail light will flash and you will hear a beeping sound too. So on the right hand side handle is a black button which is the stop go. On the left hand handle we have a red button which is a single stitch, so that will give you a complete single stitch. Now the other components we add are down here. We have the X sensor wheel. This is the thing that measures the distance that the machine has moved so it knows to take a stitch. I got my IntelliStitch back in 2002, so this is an old style bracket. The new brackets are much smaller and they look like this, so this would be down here. The X sensor wheel is at the front on Gammills, on APQSs and on KenQuilt machines. On Nolting machines this X sensor wheel is actually at the rear of the machine. So this sensor wheel measures the distance when the machine is moving side to side, And if I lift up the arm, I can spin the wheel to make sure it's turning freely. And it should be turning all the time. It's kind of hard to see. It's making contact with the tabletop here and it's turning all the time. If I bring the machine forward, then you can see the Y sensor wheel here, and this is measuring the distance of the machine when it moves back and forth along the carriage. You can see that one turning a little bit better. So those are the main components you can see. Now when we add IntelliStitch to an unregulated Gammill or APQS machine, we completely rewire the machine. We take out all the existing wires and put in our own, and we also put in our own control board in the back of the machine, which is under the back cover. And we add a new needle positioner sensor, which is inside the machine and you can't see. So that's a little tour around IS. And I should also show, if you when you get the IS Turbo CL, you will get the manual that goes with it. And this is explains all the functions, and it also has some exercises in there for you to follow. So that's a little tour around IntelliStitch.